where he actually ended up, Joshua. I think one of the most critical aspects with regard to sanitation challenges in Africa, but also in Tanzania, amezungumza ile issue ya fragmentation sector, lakini the last bit pale sijui kama mliona, the issue of investment in sanitation. And I think that's the area that we've been grappling for quite a while. There's again, like Joshua, this afternoon ni mwendo to tools, the application of tools to try to see how inatusaidia to make decisions on some of the most important aspects kwenye sanitation, Joshua, especially the service delivery kwenye sanitation. Sasa kwenye hii wasilisho, I'm sorry, nitakuwa najaribu kufanya code switching Kiswahili na Kiingereza. Hii wasilisho linalenga katika kuimarisha jinsi ambavyo tunafanya maamuzi hasa inapokuja kwenye uwekezaji wa sanitation. Tunajaribu kupromote ile decision making based on the evidence. Sometimes we make a decision, lakini mtu akikuuliza hiyo decision inatoka wapi, anakuambia 1 2 3, lakini we in the era where data speaks. Kwa hiyo sisi tunatumia data ili kuweza kusaidia kuprioritize investment in sanitation. We understand kuna investment zinaendelea, lakini I think the most critical aspect ni how is it that we prioritize. Na prioritization inakuja kutokana na the mere fact that the resources we have is not enough. We have bigger resources, kwa hiyo lazima ufanye vipaumbele. Sasa hapa ninachojaribu kufanya wasilisho is tunajaribu kufanya research. Kwa hiyo najaribu kueleza kidogo hiyo research itakuwa namna gani. We still don't have data already, but at least we are trying to take you through the processes ambazo tutaweza kupitia ili kuweza kuona jinsi gani tool yetu itakuwa valid katika kusaidia kufanya decision kwa kutumia evidence ili kufanya prioritization kwenye sanitation. Kwa hiyo ni utafiti ambao sisi Chuo Kikuu cha Dar es Salaam tunafanya pamoja na baadhi ya vyuo vingine ambao viko Afrika, kingine kiko Bangladesh, lakini vile vile tunafanya huu utafiti kwa kushirikiana na baadhi ya vyuo kutoka Marekani. Na lengo la kufanya hivyo ni kwamba wenzetu wa Marekani wamekuwa advanced kidogo, walikuwa wametengeneza hizo tools ambazo wakazitumia maeneo mengine. Sasa tukasema sisi kabla hatujaanza kuzitumia hizo tools ambazo tunafikiria ni very important, tukasema kama ni muhimu kwanza tuzifanyie hizo piloting. Kwa hiyo title ambayo tunayo kwenye hii research project tunaita Promise. Promise inasimama kwenye hayo maneno kwamba we are trying to promote evidence based investment in sanitation, lakini lengo ni kwenye health pamoja na equity. Na unaona hapo chini kuna logo nyingi, is a little bit busy, and I think these are the collaborators that we are in the journey of the research. Lakini ile picha hiyo inayoonyesha is just illustration, a demonstration, and the fact that when you don't have adequate and a good sanitation, and at the end of the day ukawa na sources za maji kama vile, you end up having some problems. Kwa hiyo it's a promise presentation ambayo sitachukua muda mrefu kwa sababu this is still work in progress, but I want to emphasize some of the few points ambayo nafikiria ni muhimu kama wadau waweze kujua. Na tunafanya hivi kwa sababu kumekuwa na notion hizi universities au taasisi za kitafiti zikifanya hizo research, unfortunately zile findings za research huwa haziwafikiwa large. As a result unaona kwamba zile results zinakuwa ziko tu kwenye shelves. But this time around we are trying to break that kind of bridge to ensure that whatever we are actually producing in terms of research, it has also to be taken up by the consumers. Now one of the key objectives of this particular research ni ku-institutionalize these tools. Kwa muda mrefu unaonekana no matter how good tools you have, lakini we don't do the institutionalization inakuwa ni one man show. Mtu akiondoka au mtu akiondoka na nini, at the end of the day you don't find that tool is in place. Kwa hiyo tukaona kwamba we need to have this opportunity, this audience, kwa sababu nyinyi in one way or the other you'll be the custodian of using this tool. Introduction, just 2 points. Na I understand kila mmoja anajua umuhimu wa sanitation, lakini nilijaribu kuwa na few items ambazo nafikiria not much. Watu urban planning wanajua. When it comes into sanitation, they understand. It's one of the elements muhimu sana kwenye sanitation. Kwenye urban settings, kwa sababu one of the critical aspects that we see is that sanitation very important kama unataka kuwa na kitu kinaitwa livable cities or sustainable cities. In the area where sanitation condition is not very good, is always a problem. Maji yanachurudika, harufu mbaya, as a result it's not livable in a way. And ukitaka kujua umuhimu wa sanitation, nenda kwenye maeneo ambayo they are not planned and they are densely populated. It's always very pathetic. It's not livable. Kwa hiyo sanitation is really very important, not only making our cities livable, but also even for protecting the public health. Lakini the iron of that is very clear in bullet number 2, kwamba in most of the developing countries, the so-called lower and the middle income countries, the sanitation is not really at the center of the planning when it comes into investment. We are on a joke with some colleagues in the water sector. Of course, not a joke, is the reality. At this point in time, we would like to thank and appreciate our government. They're investing very heavily kwenye water sector, especially kwenye water supply. Absolutely amazing. Services, your water supply may increase, and that's plus. Again, what we see here is that the investment in water supply services doesn't go hand in hand with the investment in sanitation. And that's the iron of it. Na ukija kuangalia zaidi ni kwamba wale ambao wamesoma environmental engineering na sanitation, the more services of water supply you improve, the more water you consume, the more the waste you generate. And you know 80% of what we consume kama maji yanakuwa ni nini? Ni waste water. So as a result, we have a problem. Well, if we don't tie up or we don't have ile inaitwa tandem investment in water supply service and sanitation, we have a problem. Kutakuwa na miji ambayo yes, you have very good water supply services, sanitation is very poor, waterborne diseases zitaendelea kuwepo. Watu wataendelea kupata typhoid, watu wataendelea kupata whatever you call it, na hata sasa hivi ninavyozungumza there are cases of cholera reported elsewhere kwenye generation. So I think public health is something that has to go hand in hand with the sanitation. Lakini that is the problem that we have, that the protection of public health using sanitation not central planning for sanitation. It doesn't go hand in hand. So tukaona kwamba I think it's very high time, at least we need to have a tool ambayo inasaidia to make decision based on the investment, lakini kufanya prioritization. The key ni prioritization. Kwa sababu we know the resources that we have is not enough, na je tunajaribu kufanya hiyo prioritization. Kwa hiyo a bit of history about the promise ambayo ndio mradi tunafanya is still work in progress. Labda tu niseme at this point in time ni kwamba tunafanya piloting. Nadhani kama watu wa Voda, I'm not sure kama walishafanya, lakini we also doing the piloting to be sure kwamba these tools they are really working. Na tumechagua Tangawasa kama our case study. We just be doing all the data collection, and then at the end of the day, we see whether that is going to be possible. Lakini the key, we would like to institutionalize these tools. Ndio kirefu cha promise. Like I mentioned, is the collaboration of 6 countries huku Southern Sahara, you have sisi tuko na wenzetu wa Zambia, Kenya, Uganda of course, and also Ghana, Senegal, na watu Bangladesh. I want to emphasize on the objective ya hii promise project, kwa sababu tunajaribu ku-enhance decision making, the evidence kwa kutumia zile public health tools. The overall objective yake ni ku-enhance the evidence decision making for prioritizing sanitation investment kutumia hizo tool. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it's still work in progress, and those are some of the activities that will be undertaking. Definitely ukishakuwa na tool lazima ufanye data collection, lakini one of the things is utakuwa na kufanya sharing, kwa sababu hizi tools kama nilikuwa nasema zimekuwa developed Marekani, zimekuwa piloted in other African countries, and also we are sharing the experience. Kwenye discussion session hapa, you had some people who wanted to find out what are the lessons learned kwa kutumia hizo prepaid smart meters za Vodacom. Kwa hiyo us as well, we are trying to have that element ya kufanya sharing consortium that we have for research stakeholders with the aim of ensuring kwamba tunajaribu kuona what has worked and what didn't work for the countries ambazo zilikuwa zinafanya kazi huko. Labda mtu mmoja anajiuliza, why now are we going for promise? Promise hii ni consortium, ni consortium, lakini hii consortium inatumia hizo tools, public health tools. Lakini mtu mmoja anaweza kujiuliza, why are you going for these tools? It's very clear. We are trying to address the knowledge gap in three main areas. Moja, in as much as we understand how the pathogens na wadudu ambao wanasababisha masuala ya magonjwa, how they spread, yes, everybody understand that. Again, here the main issue is to actually try to identify the hotspots za hizo areas spread their pathogens. Kwa hiyo that is one knowledge gap that we are trying to fill in. Now, of course, modern day sanitation, mnajua kwamba we are looking into the chain, sanitation service chain, right away from containment, unakuja kwenye transport, treatment and reuse. Lakini it's still not very clear where are the hotspots. Kwa sababu kishajua zile hotspots, that's the moment that we need to target kwa maana kufanya hiyo prioritization of investment. So I think that's gap number one ambayo tunajaribu ku fill in. Lakini namba mbili ni issue ya pathogen concerns, and like I mentioned, we still experience persistent of waterborne diseases. We have sikumbuki sana, lakini if you just consult most of these healthcare facilities, watakwambia water related disease cases zake bado ziko juu. It's still a public health issue, and therefore it has to be looked at a different way ili kuweza kusi how we can do that. Lakini the third one is the manner in which we make the decision for prioritizing easy sanitation investment. Sijajua, lakini the other time niliuliza, we had kick-off workshop sometimes back, last week in Dodoma. And how do you make the decision kwenye sanitation investment? And it was not very much clear. Of course, they have their criteria wanafanya pale, lakini in this era where data speaks, I think that's the area that we thought could be very important. I wouldn't like to talk about the journey of e-promise. It started way back 3 years ago. Tulikusanyika watafiti, kukubaliana, and then after that, everything will just take off. Sasa, in the spirit of institutionalization is tools, the modality in which we pursued ilikuwa ni kuhakikisha kwamba the stakeholders have to be at the forefront of whatever we are doing. Kwa hiyo tulifanya stakeholder consultation, and out of the consultations, these are some of the insights ambazo stakeholders walikuwa wanahitaji before we deploy the tools. One of the issues, they didn't want to have anything theoretical. Again, they wanted to make sure that we do the practical applications, that in as much as you have these tools, but it could be very important that one has to see whether they're applicable in particular local context. Kwa hiyo practical application, that is one of the requirements of the stakeholder consultation. And equally importantly, walisema, yes, the tools which have to be applied, one has to ensure you have the capacity. Kumekuwa na tendency ya tools nyingi zinaletwa, they're imposed, but asking people whether they have the capacity, you have the problem. The other time nilishiriki kwenye hiyo adaptation ya sheet flow diagram, I see that only small proportion of the people walikuwa involved. As a result, I think you didn't have critical mass ya watu ambao they will just bring the impact on that. Kwa hiyo capacity building, walikuwa nasema is very important that before one has to apply this, we need to see how the physics, the mechanics behind that. Lakini the local context is also something that ilihitajika, kwamba in as much as those tools there have been very well successful in other areas, again it was still a question whether they are going to be applicable in our local context. Kwa hiyo tukasema it's really very important that we need to customize, and the good thing in kwamba hizo tools they have the room for your kind of modification. Now the other critical aspect from there ni ile kwamba kila moja anakuja na tools, unakuwa na nini and all that kind of thing. Nasema no, I think if you like to institutionalize these tools, of course the institutionalization itakuja tu pale baada ya kuonekana kwamba tools zimefanya kazi. The critical aspect was that the moment when we satisfied with the performance of these tools, they have to be integrated within the existing system. It's very, very important. But kukuwa another system separate, you need to make sure that you marry these tools in whatever we have in the account. So after getting the insights from these guys, from stakeholders, this is how the Promise Consortium will just now think through and how is that we're going to use Kwanza. Before it has to be institutionalized, it has to be tested, everything is working out. Like in some areas it's supposed to be refined, and at the end of the day, we needed to say that it has to actually be deployed for application. Now I'm saying this that, and as far as the institutionalization of the tools, we opted for two lines. Moja, tukasema the tools have to go into the practitioners, watumiaji, and that's why we have Tanga on board. We like to have them right away on board, right away in the beginning of the journey. Stakeholder consultation, kila kitu tunakuwa nao, and then they have to understand that. So that's the first line of institutionalization, kwamba practitioners, like it also we would like to say, is tools sometimes they have some issues, therefore we cannot just adapt to them one-to-one. Kwa hiyo we have to do a little bit of research. Tukasema kwamba the second line of institutionalization has to go into the academic institutions, where they have also to apply the tools, na kuona jinsi gani kuweza kuzirefine. So I think this is the approach that nani itakuwa nafanya. However, one of the critical aspects ni kwamba the tools at the end of the day, they are geared to ensure we transform the sanitation in urban settings. We have really a very, very big problem in sanitation in urban areas. A lot of issues are coming up in urban areas, and therefore that's the end of the day. So when we have these tools, very heavy investment, definitely our wish is to ensure that the sanitation in urban areas are going to be transformed. Of course, those are the other areas ambazo we have to make sure kwamba they are coming on board. Lakini tunasema hii consortium ambayo inaitwa Promise inajaribu kuwa na network of researchers for that matter, pamoja na government stakeholders committed to do the institutionalization. It has to be there on board. Of course, with the time, it's going to be updated to make sure kwamba it's just living to the needs of sanitation in urban settings. So I think that's very clear. It's always very important to understand about sanitation. We talk of two settings, in rural setting, urban settings. Most of the time, kwenye rural settings, in as much as the status is very well known, like the problem of sanitation in urban settings, especially in unplanned area, everybody understands that.
It's a big topic, a big issue, and therefore everything has to be looked into that. So the target is sanitation in urban settings. Now, some of the issues that we are planning to do ni haya masuala ya capacity, but also trying to make sure they are strengthened, and the issue of communication and advocating, and we are here to do that kind of aspect where we of course priority, kwa sababu haijawa tayari, lakini at least the work in progress, everything has been prepared. Tuko tayari kuanza kufanya data collection Tanga. After that we'll be testing, and at the end of the day we see whether that is going to be okay. It could be one of the tools ambayo inaweza kutumika to enhance the decision making into that. Lakini it's really very important, need to have the strategic communication as well as advocacy. So 2-3 slides before I end up. Moja, I want us that we have to be mindful of the area where we are in, ambayo ni the use of data. Data, I must emphasize. This particular area, you are not using data, you are born to fail in whatever you are doing. Utafanya vitu ad hoc, lakini you don't have science that is backing you, you have a problem. So our approach actually, in as much as everybody understands that the universities, they are geared to do the research, generating the data, that is pretty much the cycle ambayo tunafikiria could be very important. We would like to now move beyond the data. We have the data, of course we do the publication, that's academic, but I think we need to get out of that. We want to do the transformation of evidence into action. So, and that's pretty much the cycle ambayo tunajaribu kuifanyia kazi. Itakuwa ni moto. We have to have the evidence. It's really very important. There's no way where these tools that were deployed if we don't have evidence whether they are working. Working in the sense that they are telling us, rather, zinatueleza, where is it that actually when you service chain, we have the problem with the issue of sanitation, and so that at least we can easily direct or prioritize the investment. At this point in time, nasema tu kwamba is helping us for prioritizing the investment, but what kind of investment is still not that much clear. Kwa hiyo, we are going to generate evidence of which actually have to be communicated as evidence, and at some point in this particular research project, we are also planning kufanya preparation ya kitu kinaitwa policy briefs, ambazo in one way or the other they are going to influence the way the policy is being undertaken. Lakini once everything is okay now, the solutions at hand have to be implemented, and the other most important thing, na hii ni kitu ambayo nadhani watu wengi wafanya. Ushakuwa na solution, watu wanaondoka moja kwa moja. But I think for us we say we need to look back and try to see what is working and what is not working, kwa maana kufanya impact evaluations of whatever we're doing, so that at least we are learning, calibrate a little bit, editing what we have with a view of improvement. Kwa hiyo, that is, we are planning, na actually, nikalikuwa nasema, the target ni kwenye urban sanitation transformation, and of course, all other things that we have. 5 minutes, yes, I'll be able to conclude. Of course, issue dissemination, stakeholder engagement is going to be part of the game, part of the equation, and already we are doing that. Tulikuwa na very successful kick-off meeting last week in Dodoma, where we would have all the stakeholders. They provide us with very, very important comments with regard to the tools. Tumeshamaliza biti ya kwanza, the rest ndio zinakuwa zinakuja. Of course, the second step will be for us to doing the research, generate the evidence, and we're doing the sharing. But we need to go into the policy integration and also the advocacy. So that's the way that we will be following. Na tools hizo ziko mbili. Our kick-off workshop kwa maana consortium ambayo mwaka jana tulifanya tukiwa Kampala, walikuwa wanasema tufanye tool moja inaitwa community hazard mapping, ambayo inajaribu kueleza where you have the problem. Lakini last week tulipofanya presentation hii tool inaitwa Sanpath. There is when I will just get very useful insight from the stakeholders. Wakasema, guys, from the strengths, the limitations of each of these tools, I think is very high that we need to do both. Hii Sanpath hatujajua sana, lakini ndio tunaanza kuifanyia piloting, lakini strength yake moja kubwa is just trying to trace ile inaitwa pathway exposure kwenye fecal contamination. Ukiangalia how one is getting ile fecal contamination, kwa maana wale wadudu ambao wanaenda nani, kuna so many pathways. Sasa hii Sanpath yenyewe ina actual bill ina deal na hizo pathways zote ambazo we have the possibility for getting into that. Of course, this is the tool that was developed by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation support, and it has been piloted in almost like 57 neighborhoods kwenye miji kama 14 and 12 countries, where, of course, they are saying they are very successful. Now, they have just influenced the way they are doing things. Some influence kwenye policy, they have just influenced kwenye practices. A lot of things have just happened in those countries. I also would like to see whether hizo nchi ambazo zimekuwa kwenye hii Sanpath, they can also be applicable. It's a tool ambayo we are planning to put in ani. Sasa nilikuwa nazungumza, how does Sanpath work? This one actually ni kwenye inaitwa exposure assessment. How is one exposed to that? It's really very important. Na some of the data ambazo tunafikiria tuenda kucollect in exposure behavior kwa ajili ya adults and children, and those are the pathways kwenye drinking water, bathing water, surface waters, flood water, open drain, public toilets, raw produce kwa maana vyakula, seafood and soil. Kwa hiyo I think all those are the pathways that at the end of the day tutakuwa nafanya sampling, tutajaribu kuona how things are happening, na hizo ndio parameters ambazo tutakuwa measure from environmental samples. Mainly ni parameters ambazo zinahusiana na fecal contamination, fecal coliform, E. coli and all that. So this is how the Sanpath tool is working. Then is assessing the exposure so that we can see exactly out of this exposure where you think you have the hotspots. And that provides us with the information on how best to deal with that. Now, evidence Sanpath deployment has been used for decision making about closing the unsafe drinking water wells. Zambia imefanyika kule, and still the work is in progress again to try to see into that. So that is the first tool. Lakini nyingine ambayo tutaifanyia inaitwa community hazard mapping tool. Sasa unlike ile ambayo is looking into exposure for fecal contamination and everything, this is much more particular kwa watu wa sanitation, kwa sababu it's just mainly targeting kwenye issues zinazohusiana na sanitation. It doesn't matter whether you are on site or off site, but I think there's where now you need to get the sample and try to understand how it's actually working. Kwa hiyo kwenye on site tutakuwa najaribia kuangalia kwenye hiyo chain kwa maana ya containment, transport and treatment to see where exactly we have the problem. So I think that is what we are going to do, and your methodology, how we are going to get the data, key informant interview, lakini the technology themselves, doing the observation, do the measurement, and all the other kind of stuff. Kwa hiyo pretty much how the thing is going to work. Is another thing still in how we are going to engage the community on site so that we can get the data. Them have to be part of the lakini the only thing ambayo nataka kumaliza nayo moderator, the way forward, we think with these tools, of course we are going to do the calibration, the editing to make sure that they're very useful. The plan is to ensure that whatever we are going to have, they have to be mainstreamed or rather integrated in the existing system. Kwa Tanzania tunatumia kitu kinaitwa sheet flow diagram. I think nadhani wengi mnajua sheet flow diagram. Sheet flow diagram inakwambia tu how the waste, kwa maana fecal, sludge, wastewater along the chain. And at the end of the day inakwambia
how much what is generated is safely or not safely managed. But it doesn't give you the extent of fecal coliform loading, ambayo is really very important kwenye that. Kwa hiyo we're trying to see how best we can do the integration with the existing system, sheet flow diagram. Of course, kuna sanitation, safety planning, alignment, and the attainment of development frameworks. Of course, kwa Tanzania tunazungumzia TDV 2025, lakini at the global level, of course, Tanzania Business Network kuna hiyo isha SDG 6.2. So, moderator, just want to give the flavor appetite for the stakeholders in sanitation. That's how we are planning to do. Lakini kama utakuwa na mamlaka ambayo itakuwa interested, we work together with a view of applying some of these tools, much more welcome, and that's how I can be contacted. So email address, and you have my phone number. Asanteni, like I mentioned, we still don't have data or other results at this point in time because the work is still in progress, but at least tunajaribu kufanya awareness raising on some of these tools. If we're interested, we are into the learning. Asanteni sana.
Jamani, makofi kwa Daktari Kimwaga tafadhali. Asante sana. Sasa ni wakati wa discussion. Naomba presenters, Bwana Joshua karibu. Daktari Kimwaga karibu, na mkurugenzi wa Maji na Usafi wa Mazingira EWURA kama mwenyekiti karibu.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, our two able, very well presented presentation on sanitation. We have heard about the sun tracker, but also the Sanpath tools. A bit of background. I think we are aware that back 2016, the WHO gave a directive on citywide inclusive sanitation planning approach. And we did implement that as EWURA. We did it by carrying out a study in 2020, whereby we carried out a study to see the gap in the sanitation, and particularly looking into the on-site sanitation. And there we came out with a guideline in 2020 with regard to on-site sanitation and fecal sludge management guideline. And this guideline was very well informed by the study that we carried out on the same year with regard to this aspect of on-site sanitation, but also management of sludge. And then we had further started putting data. When you look at our data from the financial year 2020-2021, we started putting data with regard to sanitation. Before that, you will only see data from the water supply and sanitation authorities only on sewerage. But from financial year 2020-2021, we started using putting in data on sanitation. So what am I trying to put forward is the aspect of planning and managing and put serious attention on aspect of sanitation management so that we can have safely manage sanitation systems in our cities, but not only in our cities, but in our residents, even in the rural area. This year, we are in the process of finalizing a guideline that is addressing the water utility with regard to planning approach to be citywide inclusive. So we are preparing a citywide inclusive sanitation planning for the water supply and sanitation authorities. Now you have heard the two presenters. After that background, we have heard them, and now it is the opportunity to give our contribution, but also ask for clarification, as well as asking questions, so that we can be very well placed and ready for implementation of these very important tools. Nawakaribisha kwa maoni, kwa maswali, kwa ushauri, kwa ufafanuzi. Nione mikono tafadhali. Nimeshaona 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yes. Mike tafadhali kwa Professor Mahenge pale, alafu kuna the same line of Professor Mahenge, and then hapa katikati. Karibu po.
Asante. I'm Anes Mahenge from Ardhi University, School of Engineering and Environmental Studies. My question goes to Dr. Kimwaga. You have said you have selected Tanga region as a case study. I would like to know why Tanga city and not other cities. The second question, I was asking myself, why don't we develop tools of our own? Because you have said this tool has been developed somewhere in USA. And the way it is even us, we can develop such kind of tool. Why don't we develop our own tool? You know, mwisho wa siku watafanya biashara. Tukianza kuzitumia in some way, ni biashara hiyo. Na wao siku zote they put money to where they can harvest. Na pia kwenye ile points ambazo mtaconsider kwenye testing kwa ajili ya pathogen loading, nikawa najiuliza kwa nini water from hand wash facility is not as one area or one pathway to consider the pathogen loading. Thank you.
Okay, we are taking the second one and the third one, and then we'll let them to respond. Karibu, yes.
Asante, thank you, Dr. Kimwaga, again for the good presentation. I'm Happiness from Water for People. Nilikuwa naangalia, it's a very interesting study. Nilitaka tu kujua if the study will take also consideration of the seasonal variations, kwa sababu tunajua we see different kind of outbreak in different seasons. Sijui kama mtakuwa na hiyo. Lakini pia in some areas we have seen where the other factors have remained constant, but due to people's behavior, bado tunakuwa tunapata hiyo. Kwa sijui kama na behavioral pathway pia is another aspect that you'll be looking at. Na kwenye, when it comes to seasonal, if the study will also help to at least highlight on the ways where we can make more climate resilient sanitation infrastructures in future, itasaidia zaidi. Asante.
Hapa katikati.
Naitwa Fidelis Lumato, Njowasa, Njombe. Nami naelekeza swali au maoni yangu kidogo kwa Dr. Kimwaga. Inaonekana kwenye Promise Consortium ambayo inahusisha Sanpath tool walioandaa na the way forward, nchi ambazo zimeshiriki ni 6, lakini ameongeza pamoja na Marekani. Sasa wasiwasi wangu, Marekani policy amebadilisha kidogo. Rais Trump na msaidizi wake mkubwa Musk wamepunguza misaada. Isije ikawa bado tunawaangalia wale katika kuendeleza mpango wetu wa sanitation tukakwama. Mmejipangaje? Asante.
Haya, tulikubaliana matatu kwanza, alafu tuweze kuchukua raundi nyingine. Naona yote yameelekezwa kwa Dr. Kimwaga, mawili kutoka kwa Professor Hannes, mawili kutoka kwa Happy wa Water for People, na kwa mwenyekiti wa bodi Njombe, naye ametoa concern yake. Karibu.
Yes, asante kwa maswali. Of course mengine naweza kuyajibu, lakini mengine of course is food for thought. Naweza kaa sina majibu sasa hivi but at least I can try. Why Tanga? Tanga kuna sababu kama kubwa 3, lakini I wouldn't say kwamba ni scientific reason for that. Namba moja, Tanga UWASA tumekuwa nao uhusiano wa muda mrefu, long working relationship na Tanga University of Dar es Salaam pamoja na Tanga UWASA. Sababu kuna research tulipata sometimes back, and then kwenye eneo ambalo tulifanya outreach, tulichagua Tanga tukaenda Mtwara. Na some of the reasons kwa nini tulienda Mtwara na Tanga, of course baadaye tulienda Mwanza, tukaenda Kigoma. Tulikuwa tunaamini kwamba hii ni miji, kwa mfano Tanga ni city, kwa hiyo ni mji mkubwa. Na kushakuwa na mji mkubwa kama wanasema mwanzo, the more you consume, the more you produce as a waste. Kwa hiyo kwa jiografia ya Tanga ulikuwa unaona kwamba hawana mifumo mizuri sana ya maji taka. Hata juzi tulikuwa tunasikiliza presentation yao last week. Ukiangalia coverage ya sanitation ya Tanga, of course they are doing fairly well kwenye on site, lakini kwenye off site is not that much good. Almost like 4% of population yote ya Tanga ndio wanaotumia sewer network system, lakini the rest wanatumia off site. Na whenever you have off site is not guaranteed kama everything is okay. Sasa Watanga wana ile sea outfall ambayo inachukua maji pale lakini inapeleka baharini. Sasa we were concerned with of course Tanga, Mtwara, Mwanza na Kigoma, kwa sababu these are the cities ambazo ziko karibu na water bodies. Na we thought in the cities or urban centers where you don't have adequate sanitation facilities, I think those are the areas that we might need to look into. Kwa hiyo in addition to kuwa na long working relationship na Tanga, lakini vile vile tulijaribu kuangalia situation ya sanitation kwa Tanga na mazingira yake. And of course given the fact that the resources are not enough, kwa hiyo tuliamua kwenda Tanga kama one of the pilot study. Lakini hata hivyo as we are still learning from the process of research, we can still just go out to other areas ambazo tunafikiria the matter of the problem. Na tuna target ya maeneo Mtwara, Mwanza pamoja na Kigoma, sababu hii ni miji ambayo isipokuwa na sanitation nzuri everything goes into water bodies and then you're in problem. I think nyinyi mnatoka kwenye sekta ya maji, mnajua situation ya kule Mwanza, sanitation, milima kule, you have a problem. Kwa hiyo everything goes into there. As things are now, water body it's not good. Lake Victoria. Lakini hata huku kanda huu wa Pwani, we have a problem. Dar es Salaam, at least there are other initiatives nyingi zinafanyika kwa ajili ya address issue ya poor sanitation in that particular. Kwa hiyo those are the reasons tulienda Tanga. And then the other thing ilikuwa ni we need to develop our own. Yeah, of course that's very valid. We see everything has to touch somewhere. In as much as hizi zimetengenezwa Marekani, lakini ile spirit ya technology transfer and customization can also go there. We can also try to see how best we can come into that. Now, you absolutely true. We can do these ones. It's not a problem at all, kwa sababu we've been having students ambao wamekuwa wakitengeneza decision support system. Tumekuwa na wanafunzi ambao wanafanya decision support system, kwa hiyo we can still do that. It's only the question for us to chukua hizi na kuweza kuzitengeneza. But we can still collaborate na si mtafiti, kwa hiyo we can just have our heads together and see how we can. The other question kwenye pathways, we still don't have an answer for that. Kwamba kwa nini hatukuwa na sample kutoka kwenye hand wash facilities? Is very valid observation. Lakini kwenye zile pathways ambazo zilikuwa tumeziweka kwenye ile Sanpath is not there. But we try to see whether that is one of the pathways ambazo tunaweza tukafikiria tukaingiza. And then kulikuwa na swali toka kwa Happy nadhani. Yeah, maswali yako mawili ni sawa and is in order. Yani ukiwa unafanya hizi studies za kufanya kuangalia behavior ya contamination na nini, it's always very important that you need to have sampling campaigns in 2 different seasons. You need to have dry season as well as wet season in our country, so that at least you see which season inaitwa hot moment, ambayo inaweza kukusaidia vile vile hata kuweza ku make some of intervention. Kwa hiyo iko kwenye plan and we are going to do that. Lakini aspect ya behavior vile vile is in order. Kwamba mojawapo ya information ambazo tutakuwa tunajaribu kufanya kwenye ile key informant interview na kwenye community tutakuwa nazunguka, we would also try to see their behavior both kwenye masuala ya water supply and the sanitation practice na hata hand washing. Kwa hiyo is also another area ambayo iko pale, na of course is going to inform any decisions that is going to be made into there. Now the other observation, which I must say that was very intelligent observation, issue resilient. And this is something I would like also to emphasize. Inapokuja kwenye masuala ya climate change and whatever, tumeona emphasis imekuwa kubwa sana kwenye water supply, lakini little has been done kwenye upande wa sanitation. Na hii Sanpath, it has the provision for ensuring that we are taking on board masuala ya resilient sanitation infrastructure. Now in fact it's not only about resilient water sanitation infrastructure, lakini inaenda mbali zaidi, hata masuala ya gender equality they also been taken on board. Kwa hiyo is something that it is within the tool itself. Swali, yes, we totally understand. Kumekuwa na dynamics kubwa sana. Tunaita geopolitics. Tunajua kabisa what is actually happening in America. Everything is bringing some problems. Nakumbuka wakati wote tulikuwa nakuwa baba wa taifa Nyerere kwa sababu wakubwa wetu wakipiga chafya kule, sisi wenyewe tunaanza kuhangaika. Kwa hiyo ipo, lakini as far as hii consortium tunafanya signing, so far hakuna indication za kuona kwamba kutakuwa na kati kwenye hii particular project. However, it's very good point, na ndio maana sisi tuko hapa kwamba in the of course tuna hizi funds, I would say seed money, jaribu ku apply, lakini still like I mentioned during concluding my presentation, nilisema if you have any entity, whether it's a public or NGO or whatever, ambao they think they are ready to collaborate with us on the aspect of bringing some resources ili kuweza to take it forward, is more than that. Lakini is an area I must admit kwamba we have to get prepared because you never know what is going to happen. is a wake up call for us, na we are going to take it up. Mwenyekiti, sijui kama kuna jingine ambayo nilikuwa nisahau. I think yeah.
Asante Dr. Kimwaga, you have done it very well. We are running short of time, but I'll give a chance for 2 other participants to contribute or ask a question. Nafasi 2 kwa anayetaka kuuliza swali au kutoa maoni au kutoa mchango kwenye hili tunalojadiliana. Ni ile jambo ambalo hatulizungumzi sana la usafi wa mazingira. Okay, inaonekana tumeshiba, yatosha kwa sasa, but I'll give an opportunity to our presenter that has been not asked a question to give a comment or an addition. Maybe because of time he was not able to clarify some things. So now I give him an opportunity. You're welcome.
Asante sana. Inaonekana mambo ya Santraka ni kama watu hawakuelewa ama walielewa zaidi. Ningetaka tu kuchangia kidogo kuhusu swali ambalo profesa ameuliza. Mambo ya kuchukua innovations za watu wengine na kutumia hapa nchini. Kwa maoni yangu, haya ni maoni yangu, tusiwe na uoga sana kuchukua innovations za watu wengine. Kwa sababu kwa leo hii sidhani kuna mtu ambaye katika Tanzania anaweza fikiria mambo ya kuuda redio yake ama runinga yake. Kile ambacho unafanya, wewe unaanzisha kituo chako cha redio hapa, unatumia kifaa ambacho kilitengenezwa kitambo. So kile ambacho tunafaa kufanya, tuchukue hizo innovations ambazo ameshatengeneza, sisi tutumie kuweka our own data, our own context, then we reap big from that innovation. But we should also be very careful. If it is given for free, we could be the one that are being sold. So we should also be very careful. But we should not fear. I think the question that we should be asking ourselves is, kwa nini ni wao tu ambao wanaanzisha hizo innovations na sio sisi? Lakini yale ambao wameshaanzisha, tusikue na uoga wa kuyatumia. Sisi tuyatumie kwa manufaa yetu, tunufaike, lakini pia tujiulize kwa nini kila wakati ni wao tu na sio sisi. Asante.
Asante sana. Tuwapigie makofi presenters wetu. Ndugu wajumbe, nachukua fursa hii kutoa tangazo moja. Kesho ndio siku ya uzinduzi wa ripoti yetu. Kutokana na ratiba ya mgeni rasmi, kesho tutafanya uzinduzi wa ripoti yetu, na kwa jambo hili tunatakiwa kuwahi. Kuwahi vizuri tu. Kwa wale ambao mnahitaji chai hamjafunga, basi itakuwepo chai hapa tayari kuanzia saa 1:30. Hilo ni jambo la muhimu sana kuzingatia, na tuje nadhifu kama tulivyokuwa nadhifu leo kwa ajili ya tukio letu la launching. Tunahimiza kuwahi kwa sababu itakuwa ni siku fupi, na kwa sababu hiyo tukiwahi tutaweza kumaliza kwa wakati na watu kuweza kuendelea na ratiba nyingine. Basi niwatakie jioni njema na tuweze kuonana hapo kesho saa 1:30 asubuhi. Karibuni sana.